Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence. Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time and your viewership. It means a lot. And today we're going to be taking a closer look at a brand new fragrance by the company Zara. This is part of their Cities collection. And please excuse me for having to look at the box for the whole name. This one is called Florence Piazza Della Signora City Center. So make sure to stay tuned. Before I begin my fragrance review of Florence Piazza Della Signora City Center by Zara, part of the Cities collection, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, if you like fragrance reviews here on YouTube, but also top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, and more, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner, and of course, while you're at it, please make sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell. So, I'm a big fan of Zara fragrances. I probably have more than 40 or 50 Zara fragrances in my collection, especially when combined with the ones that I have purchased for my wife in the past. And the one thing that I know about Zara is their fragrances are really inexpensive. I actually purchased 8 of them last week, with this being one of them, and I purchased some of the other cities fragrances like Tokyo and London and Vancouver, and so I'm excited to give you my reviews on those as well. I should have done a haul video now that I think about it, but in any case, so I know that Zara has a propensity for putting out their version of more popular niche and designer fragrances. So they have their own version of Baccarat Rouge 540, they have their own version of Dior Sauvage, they have their own version of Dior Homme, the one that was really heavy on the iris, and that's kind of what they do, right? Even Warm Black is like their version of Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. So this one, with this being dedicated to the city of Florence, which is in Italy, this one also reminds me of another designer fragrance that is super popular, and I'm also going to be letting you know how this one stacks up against that designer fragrance, if I think it's worth getting this one with that significant price reduction, or if I think you should still probably go out there and purchase the original. But let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation. So the note breakdown for this one is pretty simple. It is classified as an Oriental Gourmand according to the packaging, and it has black pepper, strawberry, and guaiac wood. It also says an overwhelming ritual of contemporary tradition. It was $17.90, very inexpensive, and it's a 100 ml bottle, which I think is pretty cool. So I know in terms of the smell, it does open up rather sweet, and so I certainly agree with that gourmand classification. There's nothing overly spicy or peppery about this one, and guaiac wood has a very specific smell in terms of it being a woodsy ingredient, and I've actually tried Guaiac 10 by Le Labo, and after that I tried a few other guaiac wood based fragrances, and I'm quite familiar with the way that it smells. It's a very unique sort of smooth aroma that I get from it, and I don't get a whole lot of that in here. Now, what else is listed? They also put strawberry. Perhaps there's something a little bit fruity about this one. There's certainly something sweet about this one. It's an overdose of tonka bean and vanilla, very similar to the types of fragrances that you may have smelled as of late, whether we're talking about like Versace Eros or Invictus or any number of other bubblegum type fragrances. I hate to use that adjective. Bubblegum is a noun, but you know, when I'm describing a fragrance, I hate to use that type of a word. But in the case of this fragrance, I'm going to be honest with you, this is their version of Stronger With You by Emporio Armani. So if you've tried Stronger With You, you're going to get something like 90% similar with this fragrance. And that's another thing that I've kind of noticed with Zara, is that even though they release a brand new fragrance, It's a subtle twist off of a previous fragrance that they've released, but they bottle it differently, they give it a new name, and it makes it seem like it's going to be a new release. And it's like, wait, haven't they done this before? And so I'm not sure if they've put out a Stronger With You type fragrance in the past. I feel like maybe they have, but it's not too strong on the strawberry or the pepper or the guaiac wood. So the note breakdown, I wouldn't say it's deceiving, but it's not very accurate. What I get from this fragrance initially is a burst of vanilla and tonka bean. You're going to get that really sweet introduction that you also get in Stronger With You. There is also going to be something spicy about this fragrance as well, but it's more of like a cinnamon spice, less of a black pepper spice. And it has this smooth, sort of creamy texture about it that I think becomes more defined in the base. And I feel like a lot of that probably is coming from the tonka bean, which typically has like a smoother appearance, a smoother olfactory appearance. Now, for $17.90 for something that smells 90% similar to Stronger With You by Emporio Armani, do I think that one should go out and purchase this one in place of Stronger With You if you are familiar with that type of a DNA? It really all depends. Are you going to be working in an environment where you feel comfortable reapplying throughout the day? If the answer to that question is yes, then I would say go out there and pick up Florence. The performance on this one leaves a lot to the imagination. On my skin, I got about 3 hours longevity, which for $17.90, I'm really not complaining. And especially when they start to phase out fragrances, I couldn't believe it. I went on their website and Warm Black was selling for $2.99. I should have put something on the Facebook group when I noticed it, but I think it might still be on sale. But in any case, so I know they're rather inexpensive, and oftentimes they are running promotions, so there is a tendency for them to become even more inexpensive. So in that case, I would say, yeah, check it out. But I feel like if you want upwards of 7 or 8 hours longevity, I would probably go with the original. Now, in terms of the smell, this one is perhaps not as complex. This one is a little bit smoother. It's a little bit more subtle. So that might be something working to your advantage as well. If you found that the original was probably a little bit too domineering or a little bit too strong in terms of the sweetness, but you wanted something more subtle from it, then I would definitely check out Florence by Zara, part of the Cities collection. So I feel like there is a lot to be desired in this fragrance, but I think it also brings a lot to the table. It brings a composition that's less spicy, a little smoother, a little more muted. And so perhaps if you're working in an environment where, you know, the people around you are not the biggest fans of perfume or fragrance in general, then you're going to be less likely to offend with this one. But I find that with Stronger With You, it's not an offensive fragrance, right? We're not talking about something ultra deep and dark and challenging. And so, you know, make of that what you will. This is a very pleasant scent. I'm glad that I purchased it, and the 7 others that I purchased from my most recent Zara haul. But in any case, I hope you took something of value from this video, and let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, it's not a very unique fragrance because this is kind of their version of Stronger With You by Emporio Armani, but I do find the overall smell to be very pleasant. It's not as strong and not as harsh, if you will, as Stronger With You, even though I actually really like the DNA of Stronger With You. And there's also a new fragrance by Valentino called Born in Roma Yellow Dream for men, also has a very similar smell to it. And so if you're familiar with those types of fragrances, you have a very good idea of what this one is going to smell like. But of course, that brings us into longevity, and the longevity on this one was about 3 hours on my skin. So it could last a little bit longer, and I think that if the performance of a lot of Zara fragrances were increased, people would be a lot more satisfied with their purchase, and it wouldn't require a whole lot. If the concentration of aromatic aromatic compounds in here is about 4 or 5%, you know, just bump it up to like 8 or 9%, you know, and then I think we'll experience a significant improvement. But in any case, I'm not working for Zara, so I can't really have too much of an input there. But the longevity is about 3 hours on my skin. Projection was great for the first half hour of application, but right around that 1 hour mark, it did start to sit closer to the skin. And this juice seems to be a little bit darker. So I was going to say, if you're wearing dark colored clothing, like a black t-shirt or something like that, I think you could feel free to spray it on your clothing. Won't really do any damage there. In terms of the versatility, I think this can be an all year round kind of a fragrance, actually. I think I say that because the sweetness makes me think of the colder weather, but I think because of how light it is, you can also pull it off in the hotter weather as well. I think this would make for a really good clubbing fragrance. I suppose if you're in a hotter environment, it will really help the fragrance to activate on your skin. So I think you can wear this one in a clubbing environment. And this would also work well as an office fragrance. Just keep in mind, it's a strong deviation from like the Dior Sauvages and the Bleu de Chanel's of the world, and it's not on the fresher side. If you want a fresher fragrance, I would recommend trying Actin' Out. I would recommend trying Floating Around, and I would recommend trying Tokyo. Those are all on the fresher side, and like I said earlier, I look forward to reviewing those as well. And I do find that this one leans a little bit masculine just because I made that connection with Stronger With You. And in terms of the presentation, I actually like the uniformity among all the bottles, even taking some of the older presentations like gold and putting them in a bottle that looks like this with that distinct shape about it. I think that that was a pretty cool move, and I'm hoping that they remain consistent with that. So my final verdict is, if you are a fan of Stronger With You by Emporio Armani, if you like that DNA, if you like sweet type fragrances, especially ones containing notes of vanilla, coumarin, tonka bean, definitely check this one out, as long as you don't mind that mitigated performance. And so keep in mind the performance is going to be about 3 to 4 hours on your skin, but for only $17.90, I mean, you really can't go wrong, right? So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my fragrance review of Florence Piazza Della Signora City Center. I really have to commit that to memory. If you own or have tried this fragrance or any other fragrance by Zara from the Cities collection, I would love to know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, if you are new to this channel and you took something of value from this video, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. It would mean so much to me. And of course, while you're at it, please make sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell. Thanks again for watching. Love you all, and we'll see you soon. Bye.